Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Coach Tiffany Parra, Editor-in-Chief of Phoenix Fitness Fanatics Magazine, elevating your mind, body, and spirit. Happy Fitness Friday, y'all. We made it. Woo woo! Oh my goodness, I am so excited for this conversation today on moving, because movement is medicine, everyone. If you didn't know, we're going to go ahead and educate you a little bit. So let me go ahead and bring in my panel this morning. Hey, we got author, musician, journalist, CEO, and host, Mr. Jeffrey Edwards with the JLE.
Everybody doing?
Jeffrey. All right, and we also have, what's going on? Coach Felicia's in the house.
Hey.
I'm so excited to have y'all in the house this morning. Welcome. Again, this is our Fitness Friday with Phoenix Fitness Fanatics Magazine. We're taking center stage on the Own It Publishing platform, Own It Magazine and Publishing platform. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and just introduce yourself real quickly, who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about what you do. Let's go ahead and start with you, Jeffrey.
Well, as you see, all the titles, and I host 3 shows: interview show, sports show, and a social paddle show. Check me out at Middle Ground with JLE at Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you. Felicia.
Hey, Felicia Pelto here, your women's weight loss and hormone health coach. You can find me at freeasafeather.com/apply to see about my 6-month program, as well as you can follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, at Felicia Pelto. Just looking for Felicia Pelto.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's talk about exercise, and just, as I was saying, movement is medicine, and movement and exercise is also a huge part in how we show up, and how, how our mindset is, right? How our mental health is. So there's a very, very strong connection between exercise and mental health. How does movement impact the mood and stress level, in your opinion? We'll start with you, Jeffrey.
When you start moving, you might start unpacking things you've been dealing with. So say if you go take a 30-minute walk, you could maybe find a solution for whatever the issue is and cool off from it by taking that walk.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Felicia?
Oh, it makes me think of that like law of inertia, right? What is in motion stays in motion, and what isn't stays still. But just for myself, I feel like I've worked through, grieving my mother's passing, grieving various people's passing, honestly, when I think about, the various losses we've experienced. And then even right now, I'll say I'm going through another form of transformation where I'm finding myself with a just new mindset and attitude towards my fitness. And movement is one of those key aspects that empowers me in the morning.
Absolutely. And I think, it's like, if we don't move, I notice that for myself, I get down in the dumps, and it starts to get me kind of depressed, because it's almost like you just have that stagnant energy that needs to come out. You guys know I'm all about the energy. So when you get out there and you are moving, you've got so much, so many hormones that are going. You got those endorphins and the dopamine and the serotonin and everything that's starting to just mix and mingle in your body to help you just to be up. So, it's very essential to exercise. And, when you go into the gym, you see a lot of, I don't normally see depressed people in the gym. Right? Really.
All right, though.
We usually see people they're having fun and they're excited, so I really do feel that movement is, it's that upper, right? So what are some of the best types of workouts? I mean, I know what I like. So what are some of the best workouts for improving, mental clarity and reducing that anxiety that we have? So Jeffrey, what are some of the best workouts that you've had? I know you talked about walking. What are some of the other, types of workouts that you've had that have really helped you to get clear in your mind and really just kind of reduce that anxiety that you might be feeling?
Oh, bench pressing. Well, you're really upset. You put about 225 on there, slap them weights around, you let it out because you don't want to lay hands on nobody unless they hold you. But you lay hands on the weights.
That's right. Love it. Look, and go heavy. Okay.
I
Look,
love
if you
that.
can. If you can.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, good, Felicia.
Um, well, naturally, I think about walking in nature, walking with a friend, because that just gives you that opportunity to vent. Um, yoga. Um, but I do agree with sorry, I missed like my brain skipping on your name.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Jeff.
Jeffrey. Thank you.
Yeah.
But like Jeffrey was saying, something about like when you're doing anything that is a bit strenuous, it has that power to move that energy in a different way. And like he said, if you're feeling like, angry or frustrated, I may not necessarily pick up weight. Sometimes I'll even just like, kind of just do some of those like air punches,
Right.
Okay.
start envisioning whatever that is that's making me mad, like I'm punching it.
Okay.
There you go.
Really engaging that core and just, kind of wearing myself out on purpose.
Right. I love that. I look, and I will be. I'm one of those air punchers as well, and just really doing that visualization, right?
Punching bag is good too.
It is, and even kickboxing. Like before I had the injury that I'm, kind of working through. I would do a lot of kickboxing and stuff like that. And it would be by myself in the gym, just going and grabbing the equipment and stuff that I've seen people use, and just going for it, and just getting it out. And I think even the breath work. Doing that breath work and making sure that your body is really getting in that oxygen that it needs while you're working out. I mean, just
Oh man. Man, my boy, he got
really,
one in his basement. And
what's that?
my homeboy, he got a gym in his basement with the punch bag.
Nice.
And last time I was using it, him and his dog came and said, like, what's wrong? Like, nothing. I ain't realize I was hitting at her. Like, man, it sound like thunder down there. Like, I ain't hitting that thing there like Jeff. Who you mad at? Like, I'm just in the zone, just getting it.
Yeah. And there comes a point too where even like when you're in the middle of that, especially like when you're engaging the right muscles and you start feeling it, it's almost like that can be a motivating trigger too when you're like feeling that good burn, you're activating muscles that you're like, oh wait, hold on, that's waking up, and you just start feeling real good, warming that area up. Yeah. So I just love that.
I mean, just again, that movement, it is medicine. Like you said, waking up those muscles, really getting into the movement, extending it out, trying to go a little bit heavier, things like that. And it really does help to reduce that anxiety, that stress. I know I sleep so much better when I, am having those workouts. And even if I work out in the morning, because I typically like to work out, first thing during the day, so I get it done, right? Because at that night, I'm like, I just did way too much. It's time for me to go and just, sit myself down. I may do some stretches and things like that, but I really see, just when I focus on just having that workout, it just everything falls in line. But many people do struggle with that motivation, and they struggle with just trying to show up for themselves, right? Especially when it comes to moving. And I think it's because we just get too caught up in everything else, right? We get caught up in the job or the business that we're running. We get caught up in, being parents or being, partners or, whatever that is, right? And then the last thing that we're thinking about sometimes is moving and exercise. That's the last thing. So what's how can someone push through when they get those mental barriers that come up, especially from all the different things that are going on in their life? How can they stay motivated? How do you stay motivated, Jeff?
Well, you got to make a decision. Do you want to start taking that step to a better version of you, or stay where you are? Because you can't get to the other side of the road until you start walking or doing something. So once you make that decision, and it might be just do 5 jumping jacks, for example. Right. But now you in a direction where you need to start going to where you're gonna start doing more, maybe a gym membership, and really take that thing to the next level.
Right. Yeah. be accountable. Just find an accountability partner. That's the biggest thing. If you can find an accountability partner or a coach, someone that you could just check in with when you say you're gonna do what you're gonna do it, right? So what's your take on it, Felicia? I mean, how do you get through those how the motivation struggle? Because I know you have a lot going on in life as well. So
right. And that's so funny you say that, because there was a point where I was like feeling like I wasn't doing enough, and I just fit it in where I could, because there's so much research too talking about like the 7-minute workout or the 10-minute workout that can have really great impact. And so I was like, let me play with this, especially, being postpartum, recovering from C-section and diastasis recti, when your core doesn't come back correctly or strong, and you have to build that back. So, I kind of feel like, after having my daughter, God he sat me down all the way. And so I was starting from as though I hadn't really moved a ton, because I kind of couldn't as part of that recovery. Right. But once I finally started feeling good, once that I got over that hump for myself, that's when I started just thinking about what made me feel good before. And I started testing that out, because before I was really strong in yoga and really flexible, and now I'm not, and then there was a point where it's like I could run, 5K, no problem, with a nice stride. Now I can't, so I said, let's start with walking. Let me count these steps. Let me just pay attention to these steps. And I started being like, okay, what's my normal steps look out like in my day?
Right.
Just to give me at least a bottom, a barometer of somewhere to start. Because if you don't know at least where you're starting from, it's real easy to judge yourself and compare yourself to all these other people. And then that distance is so far that it can become discouraging. So it's like, know where you're starting so that you can at least have something, to compare yourself to, and go, if you do 1 step, 5 steps better than that, then you're making progress.
Right.
Absolutely. That's true.
Absolutely. And celebrate those little wins. We want to celebrate the little wins in life in general, but especially when it comes to our health and wellness and, our movement, and it can be easy. I mean, it could be as easy as just being conscious and aware of where you park when you go to the grocery store, right?
100%. Yeah.
What do we do? What do we normally do? Before I used to, I got to get by the door. I got to be by the door. I really don't have to be by the door. Right. If I want to be, on top of my health, I want to get some steps in. So I'm actually going to go back a few, so I can get those steps in, so I can have to push the cart out further, things like that. Or if you have stairs in, a building versus it being an elevator. Now, if you got to go to, the 15th floor, I don't expect you to take, 15 flight stairs. But if it's a building that only has, 2 or 3 floors, why not take the stairs instead of, the elevator, unless you have something physically wrong with you. If you don't have something physically wrong where you have the ability to do it, push yourself to do it, because your body is going to absolutely love you for it, and your mind's going to love you for it, because again, it's going to keep you just going. It's going to give you some life. So we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and continue to dig on in. So we'll be back. And look, if you guys are liking what you're hearing, you're liking some of the tips that we're giving, go grab your phone. I know everybody has a phone, right? Everybody has a phone. Go grab your phone, share out this podcast to your friends, your family, anybody that you know that wants to get physically, mentally, spiritually, financially fit. They want to get that balance in the mind, body, and spirit. So we will be right back. So everybody sharing. Jeff, Felicia, you guys share as well. We'll be right back.
Absolutely.
And we are back. This is Phoenix Fitness Fanatics Magazine, elevating your mind, body, and spirit. And big ups to Michelle Mupo and Mupo Entertainment. We talking about moving and just that whole mental, that commercial right there just got me happy. I'm over here dancing and whatnot. And that's something else.
I do it too. I was like, dude.
Right? Change your mental. Seriously, like, I'm saying it could be easy. It can really be easy, y'all. I mean,
that's the power of music right there. Just that beat. That beat.
Absolutely. You know, if you're struggling and you want, you know, a little bit of motivation, just go and get in front of a mirror and turn on some music and just dance. You start dancing, you start getting just the blood flowing, you start to feel good. You know, you get out of that funk. And you know, I'll even sometimes I'll be like, I don't know, y'all, like, your girl right here, I don't have a whole lot of rhythm. People talk about me, but I do not care. I'll be out in public just doing my own thing, just doing my little dances and whatnot. Okay. And when you see people smile, it's like you got a chance to elevate your own mental, and then you got a chance to elevate them as well, right? So it's
so true.
Absolutely.
It makes me think of this time I was in Florida, and I was in one of these, you know, one of those moods where I was just like, the sun's shining, we on vacation, my friend and I taking a walk, and I was dancing, you know, and it was funny because some people drove past and they were honking and waving, and I was like, you know, so it was almost like they're saying, yeah, you know, honk, keep going, you know, so then it just powered me up even more. So I'm just like, yeah, and she's cracking up, but she's like, I ain't gonna participate, but it's infectious, you know.
It really is.
That's true.
It really is. So can you guys share a fitness success story where exercise has helped transform, you know, your mindset and confidence, or someone that you know's mindset and confidence? I know for me, I have my own personal story, my own personal journey. Y'all have heard it before. I mean, you know, I had to release a lot of weight because I was put in a position where it was about my health. And if I didn't make the changes, I could have, you know, possibly died, right? If you don't make those changes. And when I really started to move and I started to, you know, that first 40 pounds that came off, man, your girl thought she was just fly as fly. Okay.
I mean, you lost a toddler.
Right.
Here, you know. Right, yeah, I'm hoping about 30 pounds, you know.
Right. You know, and then in the end, it's like I had lost a whole person, you know, almost 120 pounds of that weight. And that did so much. It just tremendously changed my mindset. It had opened me up where I was just like, I went from being in a box, being in a shell where, you know, I didn't have any self-confidence. I would wear, you know, clothes that were too big, you know, things like that, just trying to, you know, kind of cover myself up when I got to that point, because I didn't even want to see myself, really, you know, to be honest. So when I started to just go through that journey, you know, and it was tough. It was tough. I had to find those, you know, the accountability partner. And I went through a few accountability partners because there was, you know, even they were going through their own journey, and then one would fall off. So then I got an actual fitness coach. I went and I got a trainer at the gym. And once I got with her, she was actually open to give me resources that maybe some other personal trainers wouldn't give you. She gave me some of that insider stuff. And I just ran with it. I mean, knowledge is power, y'all. When someone gives you those nuggets, I mean, take those notes and really implement that stuff, because I still today implement a lot of the stuff that she shared with me, and it has helped me to continue to succeed. You know, this was 2008. I mean, look at where we are now, right? And I'm still able to. I mean, I may go up a little bit here and there, you know, but it's not more than, you know, 10 pounds. Because I know how to move and I know what I need to do. So let's talk about that. So Jeff, you know, let's share any, you know, fitness story where exercise has really helped transform, you know, the mindset and confidence.
I remember back in 2001, Wayne State University had opened a fitness center in the heart of the campus. And I'm like, man, it's right here. It's $8. You ain't got no excuse. So I started going religiously. And before I realized it, I dropped the weight, looking good, couldn't tell me nothing. until I ran across a homeboy I had a class where he thought I was on drugs. Like, man, that's you? Man, leave them drugs alone. Like, I ain't taking no drugs. I go to the gym. Like, nah, Jeff. Man, come on, man. We love you. Like, bro, I work out. Like, man, you look so different. I ain't realized I had gotten that big back then to where he really thought I was on drugs. Like, nah, bro, this just hitting the gym every day. And I started seeing him in there. Then me and my other friends would do it. Over the years, I was consistent. I fell off. Went to the hospital recently. Sugar was terrible. Now I'm back on that. We got to get back to that.
Right. And you see how you motivated people, though. That right there is just amazing. Like when you start going through and you start being consistent and really start sharing your story and your journey, yeah, I had it too where when I lost that weight, people, are you sick? What's going on? You okay?
I was a little offended. Like, I was
like, why do I gotta be on drugs for me to look nice?
Right. But I guess they get used to who we are at that point, right? And they don't usually hear what was said to us in the doctor's office or the ER, right? Yeah. They don't hear about those numbers and things. They just see a drastic change. But I commend you for that drastic change because that really and truly got you to the other side. And even now, after this recent visit, you'll get to the other side very quickly because you know exactly what you got to do.
Oh, I got these 10-pound weights, and I'm taking a little bit by little.
Yep, absolutely. Don't go for broke like that. No, you start in and just, when I started my journey, it was a mile a day, then 2 miles a day, but it was a mile a day for a while.
Yeah,
2 miles a day for a while.
My goal is get back to benching 300.
Yes. All right now. All right. Look, I'm gonna be your accountability partner from afar. I'm gonna be checking in on you, man.
I'm telling you right now, when I get right, I'm gonna be the Black Thor. Get the wig, a hammer, and take a picture. And like Jeff lost his mind. He black. I'm Black Thor. Yes.
Look. Then we gonna put you on the cover. Look, we're gonna have you on the cover, Black Thor.
Get the baby oil so the muscles are glistening. Like, yep, I'm that guy. I'm him. They're gonna crack a laugh like Jeff lost his mind. Like, yep, look at me, all the way gone. Can't tell me nothing.
I was gonna say, make sure to do it all the way black too. Wear some locks, or
Oh, the long blonde stuff. Oh, like Fabio, all the way down.
There you go.
I was gonna say, get them nice locks all the way down. True Black Thor.
Look, stay tuned for that, y'all.
Right.
It's coming. Change is coming.
So, Coach Felicia, can you share a fitness success story where exercise has helped transform, either yours or someone else's mindset and their confidence?
I do have client stories, but I can think of just so many times it's done it for me throughout the years. When I lost my first 80 pounds, being in college and, trying all the different things and, eventually did insanity at some point. And that just doing it with a friend, even not being so serious and just having fun with it. Mm-hmm. Ended up coming out looking like an Olympian. I was like, oh my God,
Nice.
Like you said, nobody can talk to me. I'll run anybody. I can I can pull myself up. Like I felt like if parkour was a thing or I knew about it at the time, I might have tried it.
Okay, nice.
I was feeling myself. But then I think about, when my mom passed. And, like you were saying, you get quiet, you get isolated, maybe even, you're in that grieving state. And I was like, my mom, she struggled. So that's a little bit of that journey too. She looked at herself in the mirror and she would go, she hated it. And she would try different things and she didn't always have support. Sometimes people would even be like, what you doing? Why are you trying to work out? What you think you're doing? Quit,
Yeah.
So I always want to know.
Right. And, but when she had passed, I went digging through and found some of her old workout videos. And so when I was, having that struggle and that did lack that motivation, I tapped into that. Was like, I want my mama, right? I want her presence. Well, let me turn on this workout video and, kind of feel into having her presence. So kind of,
Yeah.
alchemizing, for lack of a better word, those
Right.
emotions. And I realized I had so much fun doing them because, even the trainer, certain trainers with good energy, they're like, oh, we
Right.
being silly, and I'm forgetting that was even in there, so it's like, raising my spirits in multiple ways, like just
Right.
bringing back memories that I forgot were even there,
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Love
And another time I can think of specifically was by coincidence. Um, my husband had us go to the gym, and this gym in particular was across from a graveyard,
Oh,
and it was Mother's Day. And so I was running on the treadmill watching people go and visit their mother's graves. And it was interesting because it felt like as I'm watching them, I was going through my own emotional experience while running on the
Mhm.
treadmill, thinking of my mom missing her and all of that. So, it just those examples really helps me ground in the sense that if you're feeling stuck,
right.
depressed, feeling pressure, emotional pressure that's pressing down
Sorry.
on you, you
Mhm.
got to move. You really do got to move because it also helps move those thoughts.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they just keep circling and doing their own thing. So just doing that gave my mind other things to consider and think of that really were, it almost switched it to positive. I couldn't be negative. It's almost like the hormones, because we all know hormones are moving and always working
My
in us
goodness.
too. So
Sorry.
there
Mhm.
was so many good hormones. I don't even think I could even fathom thinking bad while working out. There were too many things working good to
Nice.
prevent it.
Wow. Sorry, my little guy over here. He wanted to speak.
Oh yeah, you don't
No
worry.
problem.
Don't worry. We all got our children.
No, but man, this is good stuff, everybody. So look, we're gonna cut to another quick commercial break, and then I want to actually talk about some simple movement practice that anyone, even beginners, can incorporate for mental well-being. So we'll be right back, and we're gonna finish with that. So we'll be right back, everybody.
Yeah.
Wait, you want some more? Wait, you want some more? Okay. Wait, you want some more? Wait, you want some more?
And there is more movement right there. Again, Mupo Entertainment. They have some just really, really fun commercials. They have some really awesome shows on there as well. So if you are just wanting some really cool and entertaining shows, you can go to mupoentertainment.com and definitely check that out. You can see Girl Powerhouse, which is my show, on there as well. So we are talking again about movement and what it does for us at for mental clarity, mental health. So, what's one simple movement practice that anyone, even beginners, can incorporate in their daily for mental well-being? Just for being able to, we go through a lot of stress, you guys, and mental health right now is,
Yeah.
we're hurting in that area, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So what are just, some simple things that we can incorporate to be able to, just have that good mental well-being? So we'll start with you, Jeff.
I remember in elementary gym, they used to have you like start up here, touch knees, touch the ground, come back up. You can do
Yeah.
something that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Just try that. I mean, it's fun, you know?
There's a
And
reason that's
Felicia,
a nursery rhyme, right? Head,
having fun,
shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
right?
Only because my toddler. That's what
Now,
made me
now
think
if
of
you got back problems, just do that.
Right?
Mhm.
So if you got a back problem, you sit down and do that.
Yeah.
You still
And
move.
just get up. You know, I mean, if you just, a lot of people are sitting in front of computers all day, you know, getting up and just stretching, you know, letting your body just move a little bit out of a stagnant, you know, situation. It's just great. So Felicia, what do you think? Just simple movement practice.
Yeah. You know, my immediate thought, especially since Jeffrey had talked about putting his arms, you know, your arms up. I thought about this book I found at a garage sale by Jane Fonda.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
It's called Second Act, and she specifically talks about in there like the leading causes of, you know, elderly people falling or hurting themselves, or, you know, their muscles atrophying. And she talked about how like just doing simple things, just walking every day, you know, even if that's walking in place, just lifting your knees up, you know, that's where she talks about if you can't engage your core yet, just lift your legs, just lift your legs. And then she talks about the importance of being able to raise your hands over your head, because she says that's one of the leading things or issues that elderly people start to have, that they can't dress themselves.
Right.
And I was just like, wow, like, you know, it just seems so simple. But, you know, I also unfortunately had the opportunity to witness that atrophy with my mom. She really needed that kind of support. And how, you know, when you are sedentary for too long, those muscles just, they go, that phrase, use it or lose it, is true. You know, true to an extent that if you are not engaging those muscles, you know, I'm even seeing, you know, another loved one right now that's older, because they sit around so much and they acknowledge it, but they don't want to really do anything about it. But yeah, they're like, you know, I have no core strength.
Yeah.
And we talk about what simple things they could do, and they're just like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same people that also told me
bringing your knees to your chest, you know,
absolutely
is going to help the core. I mean, they're just sitting and
simple
doing
stuff.
here, simple things that can help. And like you said, being able to just reach above your head and things like that is so essential. I mean, and it's simple movement, but it's simple movement that we tend to lose as we age.
And take for granted.
Stretching, and we need to have a whole show on stretching, and that stay tuned for that, y'all, because you know it's vital. Stretching and just moving and getting that blood flowing is vital, and it's vital for our mental, it's vital for our physical, it's vital for all our whole well-being.
You know, the number of times I've worked out a stuffy or congested nose just from a good stretch.
Right.
Tells you how connected all that is.
Right.
You know, stretching your glute and hamstring, and suddenly, I can smell through my nose. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
You know, so it's those real simple things that we just, you know, we don't give enough credit to.
Right.
Because and it was funny, I even found an article some years ago that talked about how what was it? They said they were essentially saying that stretching could be almost, if not nearly as impactful as exercising, right? Because of the fact that it's doing so much of that deep muscle work, but in addition to the fact that it's moving all of that gunk and stuff the same way working out would, that if you can at least stretch, you are still doing more, right? Then you really are doing more than the sedentary person.
Right. No, absolutely. Like when you're looking at yoga, I mean, yoga, that's a lot of deep stretching, right?
Yes.
And you know, you've got movement in there, but when I do yoga and I'm in those stretches, I mean, I'm drenched coming out of the yoga. You know, I might be just as drenched as I am doing a weight workout coming out of, you know, yoga. Or I tried Pilates only once, and I want to go again because those deep stretches are just amazing. So yeah, I love that, Felicia. Love that. So, y'all, any words of wisdom, words of encouragement that we can give everybody? We're about to move into the weekend, and I know sometimes we tend to fall off of things on the weekend. So, any words of wisdom or encouragement that we can give anybody, everybody, as they move into the weekend, close out their week. Jeff, we'll start with you, and then Felicia will close out with you, and we are out of here, y'all.
I would say make time to get some movement in, get some me time in. We all need that to unpack.
Yep.
And if you're going to do other things, hydrate, eat some food, drive safely, and check on your people.
Right. Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Alicia, what's your words of wisdom, words of encouragement?
Yeah, I mean, I love what Jeff said. I guess the other thought I was, make it fun. Make it fun and easy. Because when Jeffrey said, be careful in traffic, it made me think, don't take everything so seriously,
Yeah.
People just be taking driving so seriously. Like sometimes like they own the road. Like they'll be trying to police from their car. I'm like, leave people alone. Just if that person want to go flying down the road, it ain't your job to stop them. Like, get over and let them commit suicide if that's what they want to do. I don't want to go with them, and don't take them with you.
That's right.
Let them go. Turn that radio on and get some music that gets you feeling better. And then it's easy when that crazy person comes along. You like, oh, hey, let me get on out your way. Get back where you need to go. Like life is way too short for us to be spending, and lots of us commute. So to be spending them hours stressed.
Right. Right.
And then you get to the place, and and there's so much research too about stress and memory.
Right.
Executive functioning, cognitive memory. No. And that's, we already know about food and all these other things poisoning our minds. Why poison our own minds with stress and frustration? Like, bye.
That's right.
Bye.
Nice.
I love it. Well, y'all, I just want to thank you so much for joining me on this Fitness Friday to just chat about, just movement and just how it can impact our mood, our stress level, and, being able to give some great nuggets and wisdom. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you for being a part of the Phoenix Fitness Fanatics family. If y'all want some more nuggets and knowledge and want to see what's going on with these two as well as some other amazing individuals, definitely subscribe to Phoenix Fitness Fanatics magazine. You want to go to Phoenix Fitness Fanatics Mag 2021.com and get your subscription there. And if you want to come on a show, you want to be a guest on a show, or you want to be featured in the magazine, you definitely want to get your spot there as well and connect with me. And let's do this, y'all. Let's spread the love. All right. It's all about being balanced in the mind, body, and spirit. So have an amazing weekend. Have an awesome week next week, and we will see y'all next time. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Stay blessed.